Evening, everybody. This is DrHack, and we are going to come back to the Ruy Lopez today and study some middle games there. Now, somebody wrote me this week, and they said, you know, DrHack, if you eat your opening chess books, all your lines will be poo. We're going to act like, I didn't say that just now. Just pretend, Right. Well, somebody else wrote me, and they said, hey, all my opponents are playing this b5 move. And I looked that one up, and it turns out that 85% of the time amateurs play this move sometime in the opening. That's incredible. Spot on, okay? Nice catch. So we are definitely going to include that in our analysis today. Good stuff. But first, I think we're gonna play what we did in our opening work. And we're going to make sure we understand and remember that we're not playing into the open Ruy Lopez. We're going to keep it all closed and tidy. And we are going to play this b5 move now just because it looks like it's so popular. Okay. Our opening is going to end the moment that they force us to play the move pawn to c3. Because remember, we want to avoid the evil knight's harassment, So if we put the pawn at c3, if he decides to harass us, we at least have a square. And when they defend e5, we'll call it there. Good. I said that like 3 times. I'm sorry. When openings usually end is as soon as black equalizes the game. And we have been talking about equalization in the Caro Kann videos that we're doing right now, this series. Because we're playing black there and we have to equalize before we can go forward into the game. So if you're thinking about an opening book, and like some of these Ruy Lopez lines go out and move like 25, 30. The longer an opening line goes, the worse it is for black. It's like they're saying, hey, I need one more move to equalize this. Oh, I can't do it yet. Hey, I need one more move to equalize this over and over again. So the longer the opening line, the better for white. The harder it is for black to equalize. Put that in your pipe and smoke it, huh? That's some good stuff. So we're starting here on move 7, even though black has not technically equalized the game yet. Okay? And we're just going to try to understand the middle game because I'm not really a memorization kind of guy. And the first thing that you want to do when you're entering into a middle game is you want to make sure you understand where all the weak stuff is on your opponent's half of the board. So let's do that for a second, right? And I spot 3 places, actually 4 places, where there are weak places on black's half of the board. There's a rook, another rook, there's a knight, and there's a pawn. And this is the one that my eyes are drawn to the most. Because I think the rooks in the Ruy Lopez, they are kind of out of the way. They're very hard to get to. We can see that we could try maybe a bishop moving up into the center here. But I think that, black's knight would capture it. And if he didn't, if he just backed up the knight with the bishop, are we ever going to take the knight with our bishop? No, right? We spent a whole video series trying not to take the knight. Let's not do it now. So I don't think the bishop's going to try to win the rook. And the only way to get to this rook would be to go through this other weak square. That does happen sometimes. But I think we're going to go ahead and uncircle those because we have to go through this to get there anyway. And I don't think we can win the knight. I think it's also very safe for the same reasons why the rook was safe over here. And so we're left with a single weak spot to focus our attention on. It's black's turn, though. How many ways can he handle our threat? Our threat is knight to g5, attacking f7. Let's look at it from his point of view. Right? Pause the video if you have to. Find the 4 ways that black can defend f7. Okay. So the first one is maybe the easiest, right? We could keep the knight out of the g5 square. Done. The second way, we could pin the knight. Done. You can't get there if you can't move it. The third way, we could harass the bishop, and it could move back, and then he wouldn't be attacking f7. Done. The fourth way is the one that I kind of didn't expect you to find. Maybe you did, and you can give yourself a big pat on the back, right? I think bishop to e7 stops it from happening. Let's figure out why. We're going to come back to this knight pin because I think that one's going to be super important to talk about because all of our opponents do that. So common, right? Bishop to e7, I think it defends the pawn indirectly. Because if we were to go and attack it now, he can just castle. And now his rook and king are two defenders on this place that has two attackers. And we don't actually have a way to bring a third attacker into the game, into that place. So what if we were to take it, you say? That's what I'm saying. You know, what if we were just to rip this stuff off the board? Now we got a conundrum on our hands. A real riddle. We lost a bishop and a knight. There were 3 points each. That's 6 points. We got a rook and a pawn. That's a 5-pointer and a 1-pointer. That's 6 points. We lost 6 and we got 6. We didn't win anything or lose anything, right? Now the question is, was the knight and bishop better than the rook? Let's take a look at it this way. DrHack style, let's take everything off the board. What if you have two things aimed at a square? 2 units of force, and you only have 1 unit of force defending that square. We know, right? That thing that we're attacking twice is in trouble. It needs to be defended again. Well, if you have a bishop and a knight against a rook, there is no other defender. So the 2 units of force in tandem overpower the 1 unit of defense. That's pretty cool. What about the other thing that could happen? What if you get, you know, a double attack happening? Right? Well, if you had more than one piece, maybe you could have more than one piece defending that stuff. And so then it wouldn't be captured. Like maybe you'd have a bishop, you know, somewhere around here defending that one, and maybe you could just move the rook back then. That's really easy to defend 2 things with 2 things. It's not so easy to defend 2 things with 1 thing. As a matter of fact, it's darn right hard. So if you ever get 1 piece attacking 2 things, great. If you ever get 2 pieces attacking 1 thing, great. This guy can't do anything better than what the knight and the bishop can do. Everything that he's doing is a step behind. And so if we were to choose between these 2 things, we would choose the knight and the bishop for their power. 2 pieces against 1. Or their versatility, being able to fork or double attack lots of things all over the board. They are much slower than the rook to move around. They are much harder to use because of that, right? It takes 2 moves to move these guys 1 time, and this guy in the meantime can move 2 times. And he's fast. He gets around the board quick. All right, so you got your slower moving behemoth, and you got your fast moving guy trying to stop him. The roles have reversed here somehow. Usually we think of that guy as the big one. So we go back to this and we go, was it worth it? I'm going to say no, right? The rooks are just not as versatile as the knight and the bishop. And so what you should be doing is you should be practicing with the knight and the bishop, not with the rook. So let's not do that, okay? Let's keep them on the board. And that means that we come back to this, and as we're trying to pick a move in the middle game, we realize that this middle game just went to hard mode for us. Because if you can find something to win, the game is easy. We know what to do with that. We pile up on it. We go and capture it. We win material. But when there's no material to win, which is like 90% of chess, or maybe even 95% of chess, most of the time you don't find a way to win stuff. We still have to play a good move. And in order to do that, I like to just ask myself one question. The question I say is, hey, what's my worst piece? And how do I make it better? And if we stare at this for a few minutes, and let's even go pin the knight, let's stare at this a little bit for white and just figure out what our bad pieces are, you know? And I look at this and I go, ooh, there are not many good pieces for white, right? This one's bad. He's defending a pawn. This one's bad. He's defending a knight and a pawn. This one hasn't moved yet, right? Queen's still back here. She's not being useful. Bishop, this one's probably the best one we got out of these ones on the back row. He can get out all the way to here if he wants to. Not bad for that guy. So I think we're looking at one of these to make better. Well, the one that you pick to start to improve is the way that your game will develop, is the way that you will play into the middle game and try to win. Let me show you what I mean. If we thought this was the worst piece, and we would castle then, and then that rook would probably try to step into the center of the board, and we'd try to push the pawns through the middle to win the game. That could happen, right? Because that rook would start to be useful, and as that rook becomes useful, naturally things start to happen because of that. What if we chose this one? Oh, this is a good one. It depends on what your name is as to how you use this guy, right? If your name is, Kramnik was the world champion for a while, right? He might use this square. He might say, hey, I need to play this to get the pawn out of the way, and then my knight's going to go right up there and sit. That's kind of cool. If your name is Bobby Fischer, you do it different, though. If your name is Bobby Fischer, your knight tries to get to that square, and you go, That's what I did the first time somebody told me that. Because that knight's path there is not clear. That is a long ways away, right? And actually, one of the only ways to get there is through F1. Because you notice from here, we can just go up and up, or up and up. And so you got to bring your knight to F1 somehow. But you're going to have a rook there. So the rook's going to have to move. And then the knight's going to have to jump, and jump, right? That is a long ways away. Hey. So if you're going to improve this guy, your plan into the middle game goes deep into move 13, 14 before he ever arrives anywhere close. Right? We could try to make this rook better. We could try to play the move A4. That would improve the rook because we know rooks love to attack things and they hate to defend things. Right? And so having that rook open into the game would be a fantastic thing to have happen. All of those moves that I just described, all of those ideas get played by chess masters. You want to know the one move that doesn't get played by chess masters? And do you want to know the one move that all amateurs think about and play eventually? Those two match, right? Now we got to ask the question, why don't chess masters think this H3 move is important right here? Why is it not that great? And I think it goes back to the fact that we played this C3 move. We're not letting the knight come across. And that means that in order for him to win this piece, to get enough material here, he's got to have 3 attackers, because right now we've got 2 defenders. Let's see how long it takes him to get 3 attackers over there in this middle game, right? This knight could get there, but it would have to take this path. 3 moves to get there. And the queen could get there, but that would have to require this knight moving. So we'd have to move it and then move it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 moves away before he ever has 3 pieces attacking this. What can we do as white in 5 moves? That is an eternity, guys. This game is going to change so much by then. But if we were just trying to alleviate that threat, this knight going here, 1, here, 2, here, 3, and the bishop has to move. Or how about here 3, and then here 4, and now the bishop moves here and we can take it, right? Or it goes back the other way. So we could use this pawn maybe later once we know the bishop can't just, walk back here with the knight. It could be a good move later. We're not worried about the bishop. That's important. Okay. And the final kind of middle gamey idea, the place where I'm going to leave this one because I just need more time on the video to do it and I don't have it, is that white would really like to play through the center of the board. We have these pawns pointing off in that direction in general. And we have these pawns pointing off in that direction in general. And both of those things mean kingside's attacks are possible. But it also means that this E5, D4, and D5 pawn push are in the position to be used. And both sides could use it at any point going forward here. Okay, and we need to know what happens when they do that. That's all I've got for now. This is DrHack. We're going to need another video. You guys take care. Bye now.